What's good, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video. Today we have another ESPN NFL mock draft reaction. This time, it's not Mel Kiper, it's Matt Miller, their second guy for their NFL mock drafts. Their second lead draft analyst. So yeah, we could see the differences between him and Mel Kiper's pick. Maybe Mike Miller or Matt Miller needs that promotion and they can get Mel Kiper out of there, because honestly, Mel Kiper's last mock draft wasn't amazing. So, okay, last couple things that happened over the last couple of days that I probably should note before we look at this mock draft. This was made on the 5th. Right now it's the 7th, so 2 days ago. Since this mock draft, Cliff Kingsbury has been hired as the Commanders' offensive coordinator. They got rid of Eric Bieniemy. Don't know how I feel about that. I think that's technically all the coach hirings. The Saints fired their offensive line coach. That doesn't matter probably at all in this mock draft. I just know that because I'm a Saints fan. But in the real world, there's a possibility that the Commanders might look to trade up for the first overall pick now, because they now have USC's offensive coordinator, Cliff Kingsbury, as their offensive coordinator. So, could look for a little reunion between Caleb Williams and Cliff Kingsbury. So, I think we jump right into this. I'm assuming that the Bears keep the first overall pick and take Caleb Williams. Like the NBA mock draft reacted to, there's 2 rounds. I'll analyze the first round, and I'll skim through the second round. First overall pick is Caleb Williams to the Chicago Bears. Yeah, I mean, you only do this if you're trading Justin Fields. I think the biggest teams right now to trade Justin Fields are the Steelers, the Falcons, and I think those are the 2 main I've seen as of now. Haven't seen the Vikings too much. I think I've seen the Broncos maybe once. But you only do this if you end up trading Justin Fields. I'm going to give this pick an A-. I know I've probably been a little nice on my rankings or on my grades on my last couple of mock draft reactions. I'll be a little bit more meaner this time. A- for Caleb Williams. I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is the better prospect, but this is what's most likely going to happen. Second overall pick, we have the Commanders. Matt Miller has the Commanders taking Drake May. Okay. I think right now, in my next mock draft I'll make, it'll be released on the Monday right after Super Bowl. So the draft order is all set. At this current moment, I probably will take Jaden Daniels over Drake May. So I guess that's a little something for my next mock draft. I'll take Jaden Daniels at 2 over Drake May at 2. I think right now I'm going to have Jaden Daniels over May, though. I'll give this pick a B+, but I think Jaden Daniels right now might be the slightly better prospect than Drake May. We've seen the comparisons for Drake May. Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, guys of that nature. Mostly Justin Herbert. But I think when we look at Jaden Daniels, his overall translation to the NFL might be a little bit more smoother than what we might see from Drake May. I mean, even talking about Josh Allen, it took him 2 to 3 years to really get solidified as a starting quarterback in the NFL. While I could see Jaden Daniels coming right into the league, rushing for 600 yards, throwing 20-something touchdowns. I could see him having a great rookie season, especially if the Patriots attempt to surround him with weapons. Probably more than 20 touchdowns, like a little bit more. 3, Jaden Daniels. I'll give it an A-. I gave Drake May a B+. I'll give it an A-. Right now, he's my second quarterback. At 4, this is not where the draft really starts. This should be Marvin Harrison Jr. It is A+, just like how, I'm not going to make that comparison right now. I was going to say just like how Nikola Topic was the perfect fit to the Spurs in my NBA mock drafts. Marvin Harrison's the perfect fit to the Cardinals, but we're kind of too early in the NBA mock draft or NBA draft cycle to really make those decisions yet. For the NFL, it's different. We're basically at draft season, which is great. I'll give it an A+. It's the easiest pick in this draft. Unless he ends up going 3, I could possibly see him go 3 to the Patriots. Then, if you're the Cardinals, you probably either take Fashanu or look to trade down. But Harrison Jr.'s at 4, you take him. It's an A+. At 5, this is where I've seen the most differences in these mock drafts. I think it should be Brock Bowers, though. He has them taking Malik Neighbors. So he has Brock Bowers dropping from the Chargers at 5. I think the right pick is Brock Bowers, so I'm going to give this one a B. Malik Neighbors, I think, is the overwhelming wide receiver two in this draft class. I've heard that at the Senior Bowl, a lot of NFL scouts had Malik Neighbors as their wide receiver one, which is definitely interesting. Personally, I think it's still Marvin Harrison Jr. Neighbors is an elite prospect. He should be a top 10 pick. He should probably end up being a top 6 pick, if we're being honest. 5, though, I just think Brock Bowers is the better fit overall. But don't let the Chargers wide receiver depth fool you. I know they have Quentin Johnston. It's a weird name to mention first. I know they have Keenan Allen. I know they have Mike Williams, Josh Palmer, Quentin Johnston. 4 or 3 solid receivers. Another receiver we'll see how his career goes. So you might be confused why they take Malik Neighbors. Josh Palmer, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams. Contracts all expire within the next 2 years. You're most likely not gonna pay Keenan Allen, because he'll be 33 or 32 by then. Mike Williams has missed a lot of amount of games so far in his career. Josh Palmer, we could see them extend him. See how much money garners in free agency. At 6, we have the New York Giants taking Rome Odunze. I'll give this one a B. I think best case scenario for the Giants is if Jaden Daniels or Malik Neighbors fell to 6, so that's why it's not getting higher than a B. But Odunze has wide receiver 1 type potential. Well, I think you can argue that Malik Neighbors does not. Malik Neighbors is, in most things I've seen, he's sub 6 feet. He might be listed at 6 feet here. But Malik Neighbors is 6 feet, 200 pounds. Honestly, probably a little shorter than 6 feet. I'd give him 5'11". Wow, Rome Odunze is 6'3", 215. Obviously built a lot better as a wide receiver and potentially a wide receiver 1 for the Giants. He's definitely an upgrade over everyone they have right now. Sterling Shepard, Isaiah Hodgins, Darius Slayton. I think all Giants fans would say that they would want Rome Odunze over all 3 of those guys. So I'll give this one a B. Not a bad pick at all. At 7, Joe Alt to the Titans. So I'll give this one an A. I think this is the perfect fit. I've said it so many times, but it's the perfect fit on the other side of Peter Skoronski, while Olu Fashanu's probably not. Joe Alt might have the lower ceiling than Olu Fashanu, but I think he definitely has the higher floor. And some teams might be targeting a player who actually can come in right away and contribute a lot. Most likely going to be a starter on day 1 for Joe Alt for the Titans. I'll give this one an A. I like the pick. At 8, we have the Falcons taking Terrion Arnold out of Alabama. Interesting. I think this is the highest I've ever seen Terrion Arnold, but honestly, I don't hate it. The Falcons do need cornerback help. With all due respect to A.J. Terrell, he hasn't been the greatest cornerback over the last 2 years, but I think a Terrion Arnold, A.J. Terrell cornerback duo would do great things for the Falcons. I probably would lean edge here. Matt Miller's talking about J.J. McCarthy, Justin Fields, Russell Wilson to fill in their quarterback. I definitely would rather Russell Wilson over both of those guys, or Justin Fields possibly. But I think edge should be the pick here. Probably Jared Verse I'd take over him. Dallas Turner, and possibly maybe even Leatu Latu, but I'm still a little bit unsure about that one. I'll give this pick a B, though. They do need cornerback help. I think they need edge a little bit more, and I think there's a little bit better value at edge with the 8th overall pick. So I'll give this one a B. At 9, he has the Bears taking Olu Fashanu. The Bears don't necessarily need offensive tackle / offensive line help. Yes, they did allow a lot of sacks this season, but Justin Fields is also going out of the pocket basically every single play, every single passing play that they ran. So you can't really put that on the offensive line. He's talking about Braxton Jones being a good but limited player. He'll never be a top 5 NFL left tackle. So he's basically just saying, stop the slide of Olu Fashanu, because the Bears don't necessarily need offensive line help. I guess at this point, though, without Rome Odunze being able to be selected, probably a little too early for Brian Thomas Jr., or maybe even a guy like Keon Coleman, I guess offensive tackle wouldn't be a terrible pick. Also, edge should be somewhere they look, especially if wide receivers off the board. Jared Verse, Dallas Turner, I think are 2 guys they should probably target over Olu Fashanu at this point. I'll give it a B+, though, just because of the value that Olu Fashanu brings. Don't know if he's a starter right away, but Fashanu has the potential to be one of the best offensive linemen in the league. At 10, he has the Jets. I'm assuming with Fashanu off the board, this is going to be Talisi Fuega. it is Talisi Fuega. I'll give this one probably an A minus. I like Talisi Fuega, and he had an amazing Senior Bowl. I think a lot of people like him more than I do. I think in my next mock draft, there is the potential for him to be drafted over Olu Fashanu. Like, I could see Fuega go at 10 and Fashanu possibly drop to somewhere like 13 to the Raiders. That's really just because of the ties that Fuega has to the coaching staff of the Jets, so we could see the connection a lot better. I'll give it an A minus though. Fuega is a great offensive tackle. He should be a top 13 pick. I just think, you know what? I guess with Olu Fashanu off the board, it does make sense for the Jets to pick him at 10. I'll give it an A minus. I don't mind the pick at all. 11. He has the Vikings taking Dallas Turner. I think this is a good pick. Should look for edge. Could look for corner. I think edge is probably the way they should look for right now. Jared versus Dallas Turner, my 1A/1B edges in this draft class. I really don't know who's my number one edge at this point yet. If they prefer Dallas Turner, then so be it. I'll give it a B+. I think it's a good pick. At 12, he has the Broncos taking Bo Nix. So with he's saying, Russell Wilson most likely not going to be on that team next year. They do need a new quarterback. And I guess potentially, if they don't get a trade for Justin Fields, the next best place to go is to draft a quarterback. See who you like at 12, whether that's Bo Nix, Michael Penix, J.J. McCarthy. I've seen Bo Nix be mocked the highest. I think there's a possibility he goes in the first round. I personally don't have him as a first-round player. But with all being said, it's not a terrible pick, especially if you really don't have a quarterback going into next year. Because how many other quarterbacks are willing to be released? I'm talking about starting quarterbacks on other NFL teams. Willing to be released/traded? There really aren't too many quarterbacks that are in the running for that right now. Someone on the top of my head, you don't want Desmond Ridder, I'll tell you that. Justin Fields is most likely the main guy, but I think you take Justin Fields over Bo Nix at this moment. But I guess if we're making Bo Nix picked at 12, or assuming Justin Fields gets traded to the Falcons at 8, we'll see. I don't mind the pick, though. I'll give it a B- just because I really don't think he's a first-round pick, but I don't think quarterback is somewhere they shouldn't go in this draft class, if that makes sense. At 13, he has another quarterback go, J.J. McCarthy. Quarterbacks will go as high as teams need them to go. If a team is at 6 and there's a quarterback who's projected in the late 20s, he most likely will go at 6. If there's the team at 8 and there's a quarterback that's likely to go somewhere in the 30s, there's a possibility he goes at 8. So they're just saying that the Raiders are in desperate need for a quarterback. In my opinion, that's not really true. Aiden O'Connell, their starting quarterback from last year, didn't play terrible. He definitely had some flashes. I think there's like a 90-something% chance he returns as their starting quarterback this season. I just don't see the value of taking J.J. McCarthy right here. I think they definitely need to go somewhere else. Defensive back, probably the number one thing to look at. Offensive lineman too, but with Fuega and Fashanu and Joe Alt off the board already, I don't know if that's the way they should go. So I definitely look defensive back. Nate Wiggins, he's my corner. What? Is he my corner 1 still? Him or Terry Arnold are fighting for that corner 1. Nate Wiggins, Kool-Aid McKinstry probably if they want his versatility. Speaking of versatility, Cooper DeJean. I'd rather go defensive back here, but if they really think they need quarterback, I guess go take a quarterback. They go as high as teams need them to go. I'll give us a C+ though. I don't see McCarthy as a first-round prospect really at all. But that being said, I'll give it a C+. I don't really like the pick. At 14, he has the Saints taking Brock Bowers, stopping the slide of Brock Bowers. Sure, I like the pick. I think if he does fall to 14, I think the Saints need to swoop him up immediately. I'll give this one an A-, just because obviously tight end is not their number one need, but you really can't let Brock Bowers slide past 14. I think that'd be a dumb move. Jared Verse still being on the board is interesting. I think if Brock Bowers is off the board, I think Jared Verse would be the pick here. Him, possibly J.C. Latham, maybe even Amarius Mims, maybe even Tyler Guyton. He's shot up draft boards as of recently. But Brock Bowers at 14, I like the pick. A-, best player available for sure. 15, he has the Colts taking Jared Verse. I think the Colts target defensive back or edge here, and Jared Verse is still on the board. I think it's a great pick. I could see Verse here. I could say Leatu Latu here. Kool-Aid McKinstry, Cooper DeJean, Nate Wiggins possibly. If they think edge is their number one need, then I think they go take the best edge in this class, possibly in Jared Verse. I'll give this one a B+. I like the pick. I'll give it an A- actually. 16, he has Byron Murphy, the second out of Texas to the Seattle Seahawks. The Seahawks are in pretty desperate need for interior defensive line right now. Whether you want Byron Murphy, whether you want Johnny Newton, then the other guy from Texas that I can't remember his name right now. Let me just try to get this up real quick so I can name his name real quick. You guys know who I'm talking about. Obviously, Texas with the two-headed interior defensive lineman combo. Tavondre Sweat out of Texas. Don't know why I couldn't think of his name right there. Maybe even Chris Jenkins. See how far he gets pushed up. I've seen him in first-round picks, or I've seen him in first-round mock drafts at times. So, Tavondre Sweat, Byron Murphy, Johnny Newton, all guys I can see go at 16. I think right now Byron Murphy is probably my defensive tackle or interior defensive line number one. So I think this is a good pick for the Seahawks. I'll give it a B+. At 17, he has the Jaguars taking Ennis Rakestraw, another guy I've seen shoot up into the first round in a lot of mock drafts. I personally still have him as an early second-round prospect. Don't have him as a first-round guy yet. For that reason, I'm giving it a B-. Also because Nate Wiggins, Cooper DeJean, Kool-Aid McKinstry, three corners I'd easily take over Ennis Rakestraw at this very moment, especially for the Jaguars at 17. I could also see this being offensive tackle. Amarius Mims still on the board, J.C. Latham still on the board, Tyler Guyton still on the board. I think tackle is a big need for them, maybe even interior offensive lineman and someone like Troy Fautanu or Graham Barton. But overall, Rakestraw is not a bad pick. I'll give it a B-. I just would rather DeJean, McKinstry, or Nate Wiggins for them. At 18, he has the Bengals taking Brian Thomas Jr. So, T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd are both free agents, which is something that's just a fact. So they do need to address wide receiver. I don't think it needs to be in round 1, though. Would we look into round 2, the type of wide receivers that could fall in round 2? Not even fall, but just be available. Xavier Worthy, possibly. A.D. Mitchell, possibly. Tez Walker, possibly. Didn't have a great Senior Bowl. Might fall down the draft boards a little bit. Jalen Polk. Malachi Corley. There's a lot of great wide receivers that could end up falling down the board a little bit that are probably at similar levels as Brian Thomas is. Brian Thomas is a great player. I'll give it a B- though, just because I think they should attack offensive line, or offensive tackle more specifically, with the 18th overall pick. I'd like to see them take J.C. Latham here. Amarius Mims and Tyler Guyton are also options, but I think Latham is the best out of the three. I'll give it a B-. Not a bad pick, but I think they should go Latham with 18. At 19, yes, Tyler Guyton. Let me make sure I didn't miss J.C. Latham earlier, because taking Guyton over Latham is sort of interesting to me. But I did not miss him. He has been falling a little bit. Tyler Guyton to the Rams. I'll give it a B. Personally, I have J.C. Latham as a better prospect than Tyler Guyton. Amarius Mims and Guyton are probably on the similar level. So just for that, it's getting a B. I think J.C. Latham is the best player to pick here. The Rams do need offensive tackle. Also could possibly look at defensive back. But overall, it's not a bad pick. It's getting a B. Tyler Guyton most likely will end up being a top 20 pick in this draft. At 20, he has the Steelers taking Amarius Mims. So J.C. Latham falling out of the top 20 is very interesting. I'll give it a B as well. Like I said before, similar to Tyler Guyton, I think J.C. Latham is the better pick here at 20. Don't mind the pick, though. It's getting a B. At 21, Johnny Newton to the Dolphins. Probably would rather interior offensive line here with Jackson Powers Johnson, Graham Barton, Troy Fautanu, one of those three guys. But Johnny Newton is also a high-value type player. You know, early in the draft cycle, we've seen him get mocked in the top 10. Lately, he's fallen down a little bit. He's just an overall good player. He should be able to contribute right away. Not that big of an interior defensive lineman. I don't know if he has his dimensions here. Only 6'2", 295, which is fairly small for someone at his position. But overall, it's not a bad pick. I'll give it a B for the Dolphins. Yeah, it's just not a bad pick. At 22, he has the Eagles taking Quinion Mitchell out of Toledo. I'll give this one a B+. Nate Wiggins, Kool-Aid McKinstry, and Cooper DeJean still all on the board. I'd probably take Quinion Mitchell. I don't know if I take him over Cooper DeJean. Maybe for the Eagles I do, so I'm not going to say Cooper DeJean here. But Nate Wiggins, I think, needs to needs to be taken before Quinion Mitchell in this draft class. I'll give it a B plus though. Quinion Mitchell, arguably my my cornerback. Let's say if I have Terry Arnold at 1, Wiggins at 2, Quinion Mitchell can kind of slide into that 3 or 4 spot depending where I like Kool-Aid McKinstry. Don't mind the pick though. It's B plus. You might say the Eagles don't need corner because of Eli Ricks and Keely Ringo, but those guys have proven nothing so far in their careers, and they can get a high energy, aggressive guy like Quinion Mitchell to bring into that cornerback room. With James Bradbury likely falling out in the next year or two, Darius Slay, old, he's gonna fall out in the next year or two. Quinion Mitchell can be a great NFL player. It's getting a B plus for me. At 23, he has Kool-Aid McKinstry to the Texans. Sorry for the sirens, but Kool-Aid McKinstry to the Texans. Interesting. I wouldn't say corners their top need. I would definitely lean interior defensive lineman, maybe Chris Jenkins or Devondre Sweat, possibly even edge with who else is still on the board for edge? Leatu Latu still on the board for edge. Braylon Trice possibly, pending what they want. It's not a bad pick for Kool-Aid McKinstry. I'm going to give it a B, though, just because I think edge and the interior defensive lineman are in wide receiver possibly are a little bit higher up on the board for them. At 24, he has the Cowboys taking Keon Coleman. At this current moment, I probably don't have Keon Coleman as a first-round guy. But if the Cowboys really need offense or really need offensive weapons, I guess, Keon Coleman is an okay pick. I just don't think we saw how their offense was ran last year, and it was good enough where I don't think they need to get another wide receiver in that room. I guess Brandon Cooks could be out soon. I mean, could get another wide receiver in there. I would rather go Graham Barton or Troy Fautanu at 24. I think Graham Barton is someone I definitely target for the Cowboys. I'll give it a C+. I don't really think they need to take Keon Coleman here. Another team that could just wait till the second round to take a wide receiver, because Keon Coleman, in terms of value, is not too much different than Jalen Polk or Malachi Corley or someone like Troy Franklin. You know, I know they have different play styles, but in terms of production, I don't really see Keon Coleman having that much more of a production than those 3 guys I mentioned if they all were end up to play for the Cowboys. Obviously not, but if they all played for the Cowboys, I don't think Keon Coleman would have by far the best production out of those guys, if that makes sense. At 25, Packers take Cooper DeJean. I'll give this one an A. I think Cooper DeJean is a very, very, very good player, very versatile player too. I said this in so many mock drafts, but he can play boundary, he can play nickel, he can play safety, he can play strong safety, he can play overhang safety, he can play in the box. He can really do everything. Return kicks and punts. Cooper DeJean is that guy. I mean, he's a football player. Not much more you could say about that one. He has extremely good value, so seeing him drop down draft boards to the late second round is sort of confusing. I mean, I've even done it. I've dropped him down to like 25, 26, something like this, but he has top 14 value for sure. I think the Packers will fall in love with Cooper DeJean, probably already have. At 25, it's getting an A. If they need him to move back to safety, I could see him do that. Nate Wiggins still not picked yet, but I think for the Packers, I would take Cooper DeJean over Nate Wiggins. At 26, Fautanu for the Buccaneers. Fine pick. I'll give it a B+. The Buccaneers don't have any too desperate needs right now for their whole team in terms of who they want to draft, but they have some needs that need to be taken care of. Wide receiver, edge, interior offensive line. I guess Troy Fautanu fits that. It's a good pick. It's a B+. Offensive line, he's a safe offensive lineman. He played tackle at Washington, but is expected to make the move to guard when he reaches the NFL. It's a fine pick for the Buccaneers, B+. At 27, we have the Cardinals taking J.C. Latham, stopping the fall. With their first pick, they picked Marvin Harrison Jr. So with the second one, I'd expect an edge or an offensive tackle. So Latham makes sense. With the value, I'm kind of tempted to give them an A+ with this one, but I'm going to lean an A. I think edge might be a little bit more of a need, but at this current moment, I think if Latham and Leatu Latu and Braylon Trice are all on the board at the same time, I think Latham is the right pick, though. So I'll give it an A. It's a great pick for the Cardinals, great value at 27. At 28, we have the Buffalo Bills taking Jackson Powers-Johnson. This is a fine pick. In my next mock draft, I promise I will have Jackson Powers-Johnson in the first round. he's going to go to the Dolphins. Just a spoiler there. I'll give it a B. It's a good pick. Jackson Powers Johnson, in my opinion. At this point in time, it's a first-round NFL draft prospect. 29, he has the Lions taking Leatu Latu. Just like I've said before, high-value pick. Lions' highest need probably at corner or at wide receiver. So it's getting a B+. I think Leatu Latu could potentially end up falling to late 20s just because of his injury history. He had to medically retire from football when he was playing at Washington. Now at UCLA, I mean, he had a great year last year, but there's still that overhanging injury where you never really know what could happen. So it's not a terrible pick, not their highest need, but it's great value. I'll give it a B+ for the Lions at 29. At 30, Darius Robinson out of Missouri. I thought Darius Robinson was a bit more of an interior defensive lineman, but I guess if you want to call him a defensive end, that's fine with me as well. I think there's better, even interior defensive linemen still on the board, in Chris Jenkins and T'Vondre Sweat. Or if they want to go with edge, I think Braylon Trice is probably the better pick as well. Darius Robinson, for me, is a second-round guy. I'll give it a C+ just because I think there's better guys for them to pick at Darius Robinson's position. At 31, we have the 49ers taking Jordan Morgan. I think this is a great pick. Haven't seen Graham Barton yet in this draft class, which is interesting. I kind of consider him as a lock to be in the first round, and I think if he was available at 31, the 49ers would take him, but apparently not. So Jordan Morgan, they do need tackle. I'll give it a B+. He's a great tackle. There are a lot of other tackles they could take that are still on the board, but I think out of all the guys left, Jordan Morgan might be the best guy available. I know there's Patrick Paul, Kingsley Suamataia. Other than that, I think he is the best tackle available, if I'm not mistaken. Let me put my mock draft simulator back up, just so I can see the available guys so I don't have to think off the top of my head. All these guys have went. Tyler Guyton has went. So yeah, Kingsley Suamataia and Patrick Paul are basically the two remaining potential first-round guys. Yeah, it's not a bad pick for the 49ers, so I'll give it a B+. I like the pick. I'd go him or Graham Barton with the 31st overall pick. At 32, the last pick in the draft class, he has Xavier Worthy going to the Chiefs. Xavier Worthy is 100% a second-round guy for me. Personally, I'm taking Troy Franklin. I'm taking A.D. Mitchell. I guess go to see the wide receivers left. Like I said before, I'm taking Troy Franklin, A.D. Mitchell, Devontae Walker, probably over Xavier Worthy. McMillan, no. Polk, no. Malachi Corley, maybe. Ladd McConkey, maybe. Leggett, yes. A.D. Mitchell, yes. I just think there are better wide receivers available for the Seahawks. And I think if if the Chiefs want to pick a guy to fit their playing style, Troy Franklin is right there at 32. Jalen Polk is right there at 32. Polk probably not, but Troy Franklin for sure. I think Troy Franklin is the right pick for this Chiefs here. They decide not to go him. I'm going to go C+. There's just better wide receivers to pick at 32. No disrespect to Xavier Worthy, but he's a second-round guy for me. So yeah, that's the reaction. I guess, like I said before, I'm going to skim over the second round. He has Ladd McConkey going at 33, so skipping over guys like Troy Franklin, Devontae Walker to go Ladd McConkey. Okay. Patrick Paul, good pick. Nate Wiggins, second round, amazing pick. Chris Braswell, could see him end up in the first round. Edgerrin Cooper, I've seen in the first round sometimes. A.D. Mitchell, Graham Barton falling to 39 is an amazing pick. Chop Robinson falling is also an amazing pick. Forgot to even mention him with my edges. I completely skipped over him and I just said Braylon Trice. Obviously, respect to Chop Robinson. Kamari Lassiter, Michael Penix Jr., quarterback to the Vikings. Good pick. Devontae Walker, Troy Franklin. I think Devontae Walker and Drake London both play that wide receiver 1 role, so it'd be interesting to see how they play together. I don't hate the pick, though. It's great wide receiver value. Has Troy Franklin run yet? Because I might want to go Troy Franklin over Devontae Walker if he's available. Yeah, I probably would lean Troy Franklin over Devontae, but it's not a bad pick. 44, Troy Franklin. Leggett as well, I'd probably take over. Devontae Walker, at least for the Falcons there. Malachi Corley, Chris Jenkins, Roman Wilson, Jatavian Sanders, Tyler Nubin, Zach Frazier is a guy I've also seen jump into the first round in some mock drafts. Might want to include him in my next one. Braylon Trice, Junior Colson, T'Vondre Sweat, Cooper Beebe, Kingsley Suamataia, Cameron Kitchens, Jonathan Brooks. Interesting to see the Packers taking a running back, our first running back off the board. Leonard Taylor, Jalen Polk, T.J. Tampa, Javon Bullard, Disa Isaac, and finally Michael Hall Jr. I think this was overall a pretty good draft class, or a pretty good mock draft. There weren't too many picks that I was really surprised about. Like, I honestly don't even know what I'm going to make the thumbnail, because honestly, nothing was too surprising. Most surprising pick might be Neighbors at 5 over Brock Bowers, or possibly at 17, Ennis Rakestraw over some of the other corners in this draft class. But overall, not a terrible mock draft. ESPN might want to consider promoting Matt Miller to be the number 1 guy, because this mock draft was definitely better than Mel Kiper's. Thanks for watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like the video. We're going to be looking to drop my next NFL mock draft on Monday, the day after the Super Bowl. So be ready for that one, the first official off-season mock draft. Mock draft season is basically upon us. We're waiting for that Super Bowl. But really, all NFL fans want to see is the next mock draft. Just kidding. But thanks for watching this video. And yeah, we'll see you next time. Peace.